Mr. Leon Pereira.
Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Manpower adopts the same approach taken by other national statistical agencies and tracks long-term unemployment rates disaggregated by age, gender, and education qualifications. Now, these figures are released quarterly and regularly through our labour market reports. The industries with the highest long-term unemployment rates in June 2021 were transportation and storage, administrative and support services, arts, entertainment and recreation, construction, accommodation and food services, and real estate services. These industries have been relatively more impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the long-term unemployment rates across industries also fluctuate from year to year. So it does not make sense to just focus on the top industries. Instead, we have to help workers across the entire economy to continue to stay relevant, and also for job seekers wishing to switch careers to help them switch into new jobs. Our measures include efforts to preemptively tackle the issue of skills obsolescence and reduce the chances of workers falling into long-term unemployment. And this is even more apt in this current world where there's so much disruption and transformation going on. We publish JTMs, or Job Transformation Maps, which are detailed sectoral manpower studies mapping out the impact of technology and digitalization on individual jobs over the medium term, to identify opportunities for employers to transform their jobs, as well as to upskill their workers to be ready for these transformed jobs. Employers can tap on various government programs to do so. Under the Support for Job Redesign under Productivity Solutions grant, there is funding support for employers undergoing business transformation to redesign jobs to be more productive and more attractive to workers. Workforce Singapore, or WSG, has also rolled out job redesign reskilling programs to support employers to upskill their employees to take on enhanced job roles. Employers who need support on their transformation journeys can partner with NTUC to establish a CTC, or a Company Training Committee. And NTUC has done so with over 800 companies, and the Ministry of Manpower will continue to support NTUC's efforts. Now, on the employees' side, so the first part alludes to supporting the employers, the businesses. Now on the employee side, so to directly support local job seekers, the National Jobs Council has placed more than 174,000 job seekers into jobs and skills opportunities as of end December 2021. This is under the SG United Jobs and Skills Package. The Jobs Growth Incentive, or JGI, was also introduced to encourage employers to expand local hiring amidst the economic uncertainty. Job seekers also have access to WSG's career matching services and programs. Several of our programs provide enhanced support for the long-term unemployed. In particular, the CCP, or Career Conversion Programs, help job seekers to reskill for in-demand growth jobs. Employers who hire long-term unemployed candidates will receive a higher support of up to 90% of salary costs. We have also appointed EDECO as our first SG United Jobs and Skills placement partner to provide additional job matching avenues for more vulnerable job seekers, including the long-term unemployed. Thank you.
Mr. Leon Pereira.
I thank the Minister for a very comprehensive answer. I just have two supplementary questions. One is the Minister alluded to the fact that the long-term unemployment rate does fluctuate across industries. He highlighted the top five or top few industries for long-term unemployment. I'm just wondering whether the Ministry has given any thought to identifying those industries that may be most at risk from long-term unemployment based on technological changes and economic changes that we can foresee, and whether efforts are underway to sort of proactively push out communications, maybe get ahead of the curve to employers and employees to get them to reskill or upskill so that they will not be so much at risk of long-term unemployment from these technological changes now. So that's the first question. The second question is the Minister alluded to programs such as CCP, and I think Professional Conversion Program is maybe another subset of that. And one bit of feedback that I do come across sometimes is that these reskilling programs, the number of places is limited, and people have to compete to get into these programs. And I'm wondering if the government is considering expanding the supply of such programs to keep up with the demand. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Leon for his question. Indeed, for the at-risk industries, we work very closely with the different economic agencies, including the other ministry that I'm also, overseeing with Minister Gan Kim Yong, working with EDB, ESG to identify which sectors or which type of industries are at risk of disruption. And we actually work with them to develop JTMs. I think there are about 15 JTMs now. These are the job transformation maps. So what we do is that we believe that not just in making sure identifying the at-risk employee, but we also want to identify the at-risk business so that there is a proper matching. On top of that, we've also, I think I've alluded some time ago, that we have a jobs task force with a clear target in terms of trying to go down to the granular details to see where some of these potential mismatches could end up with. And as a result of that, I think we've been able to work out in some of these at-risk areas, identified the number of jobs available, and I think we are now on a fairly good trajectory of achieving those targets. I think moving forward, in terms of the CCPs are limited by the ability of the companies or the businesses that we are working with for them to dedicate and allocate resources. WSG has a sustained program to increase and maximize the number of CCPs in working in collaboration with these companies and to develop more programs for the employees, particularly those in mid-career switch, looking to upskill, to reskill, or to pivot. The key thing is obviously bringing these companies on board, because some companies, particularly the smaller ones, find that they may not necessarily have the bandwidth nor the resources to join us in developing some of these CCPs. So as a result, we then work with economic agencies to see whether we could help them tap on some of the productivity solutions grant or some of the other type of bridging loans for them to be able to leverage on these resources to help train and to help them pivot to new, hopefully greener pastures. I hope that answers your question. So there are quite a number of these programs available. Thank you.
Associate Professor James Lim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could just quickly follow up. I understand the Minister has mentioned that it's not generally stable for us to pay attention too much to the specific industry categories. But I wonder if he could just characterize whether these tend to fall more within what we would typically call higher skill, more trained, educated jobs, or whether they tend to fall along the lower skilled spectrum. And I ask because I think it's imperative for us to get a handle, because our policy response for addressing displacement because of lower skilled workers could be quite different from that from higher skilled ones. Thank you.
I thank Professor James Lim for his question. I think that there are two aspects of it that we've been gleaning from the statistics and also the data that we have obtained. Generally, the older age groups, particularly from, I think, those that are in their 50s and 60s, have a higher tendency with relatively higher difficulty in obtaining jobs. In terms of the educational level, typically, these are those who have not gotten diploma. I mean, they're in secondary or below secondary type of sector itself. Now, I would hesitate to add, I want to add that the long-term unemployment rate is not high to begin with. We are about 0.9%. In a very good year, we are at about 0.7, 0.8%. So now that 0.9% equates to about 22,000 residents. So this is the group that we are looking at. We have tried to see what are some of the skill sets that we could nudge them. Many of them, we would need them to work with us in terms of pivoting, reskilling in the ICT sector, and also in terms of improving the value added and the productivity of the relative roles that they are, of the roles that they are performing in. One of the challenges is also the fact that across the industry, it is the inward-facing ones, I think the same ones that we've been talking about the last couple of months, the inward-facing ones, retail, some of the food services itself, hospitality, aviation, it continues to still be relatively slower compared to the outward-facing sectors. So these are the ones that we're trying our level best by identifying them, working closely with the industry to see how we can actually help them transform. We can actually help them to also repackage some of the services that they are able to offer. And as a result of that, then have a whole series of programs for this group of individuals, whether place and train, attach and train, so that we can actually take some of the economic burden off the company itself by the government subsidizing or funding a large part of that training for them to achieve, for us to collectively achieve the end goal of getting them gainfully employed. So we can go into a lot more granular detail, but I think that perhaps suffice to say if it answers directionally your question, your line of reasoning, I'm happy to take it further in subsequent sessions to try and see how we can come to an even more focused and even more nuanced solution for this group of individuals. Thank you.